Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the GA, welcome to Jerusalem, and welcome especially to President Shimon Peres, who is single-handedly, I would say, giving the entire human race the incentive to stay fit and healthy. By showing every day that the minor fact of being 90 is no impediment to changing and inspiring those around you. We have some quality time with you this morning, Mr. President, and I want to start with a couple of questions that were sent in from North America via Facebook. Now, you are one of the world leaders most on Facebook. You've got a huge following on Facebook. It's a very big and important way of keeping in touch with people. So the first of the questions that was sent in, this is from somebody named Rachel Barton, who's an intern at the LA Federation, and may even be in the audience. Mr. President, Rachel wants to know, what is your wish for the future of the Jewish people in Israel and North America? And what, Rachel asks, can my generation, the young generation, do as future Jewish professionals and communal leaders to make that wish a reality?
Well, first of all, let me say how happy I am here. I'm happy to be here. I'm very glad that you did it in Jerusalem. Now, what the young generation has to do is to adopt the Jewish tradition to a new age. What happened, happened. We live in a different world, which is, by the way, quite Jewish. We went over from land to science. Land could be marked, divided, fought about. You had two sides. Science cannot be conquered, neither by wars, not by armies. Science doesn't have two sides, many sides. And today, the real strength of a people is the scientific level, the level of knowledge. May I say, with pride, we were born for it. Since we never had much of the land, we never had much of the water, we didn't have much natural resources. What we have had and still have is a vision, and a vision which doesn't lay on the land, but lay on the values of life. We were not owners of land. We were creators of an ambition to do and make a better world. And believe me, it's your time. Every day the world is changing, and anyway, the young generation doesn't agree with their parents. They say, thank you for bringing us to life. But stop telling you about your great past. What sort of a world did you leave to us? A broken world by wars, by hatred, by suspicion. We want different. If I may say in American language, I think democracy in America today went through three changes. What is democracy today in the United States and the world? A, that self-expression is more important than free expression. A young girl or a young boy want to express what they have in their heart, in their mind, in their hopes, not just to take a microphone and make a speech. This is one point. The second point of new democracy is not just the right to be equal, but the equal right to be different. There is nothing wrong by being different. We have equal rights, all of us. And America today is a concert of differences, not an assembly of likeness.
Let me...
And the third, okay.
Well, let me move from there to a sort of follow-up question, which also came in via Facebook, and I don't know if Hila Israeli from Rutgers or anyone from Rutgers is in the room. Apparently so. So now, bringing what you were saying about democracy and the right to be different and so on, she asks, what do you believe is the greatest obstacle for the future of Israel and the best approach to addressing the issue?
To depart from the past.
The future of Israel.
The future of Israel is to be since, look, I said, you know, I remember the early days. We came in, tiny piece of land, all told we are 1,000th part of the Middle East, unnoticeable. And the land wasn't friendly. Swamps in the north, desert in the south, and the only neighbors we met were mosquitoes, the rest were enemies. And no water, we had 2 lakes, one dead, other dying. We have one river, very famous, the Jordan River, a river which is full of fame and short of water, not for irrigation. And you know, then we decided there are 2 sorts of countries in the Middle East, the holy countries and the oily countries. We were clearly a holy country. We had nothing. Outgunned, outnumbered, without support, alone, at war. And you know what? We discovered that the greatest treasure in life is the human being. When you have nothing, you have people. Israel is a story of people and not of assets, of values. And I read now that there is an argument if you can separate between democracy and Judaism. Nonsense. The first democrat on earth was Moses. When he said, by the way, he came from Africa, but also when he says that every person was born in the image of the Lord, that was the first declaration of democracy.
Absolutely.
When he says, we shall not be slaves and we shall fight oppressors, the second declaration. When he said, and you love your fellow men like yourself, the third declaration. What is democracy? To love people and to believe in them. And that we don't trust idols. And we don't trust human beings that claim they are gods. They are not gods. They were created the same way by the God. So I mean, look, it's a great heritage. It was difficult to be with it in a world of idols. We paid for it. Half of our history, we were abroad, in exile. 2,000 years out of 4,000 years. We went through destruction, to the Holocaust, my God. And we are here, and we are not going to give up. Judaism is not a business. Judaism is a vision, a moral vision, a preference of values upon assets. And that's what should unite us. 3 points. A, to keep on with our devotion to have a world which is right and better, number 1. In order to do it, never stop learning. I mean, we are good in the Silicon Valley in Israel because our mothers didn't let us to stop studying. And our fathers and mothers taught us one thing, which is great. And I'm being asked, what is the greatest contribution of the Jewish people to the rest of the world? My answer is dissatisfaction. A good Jew cannot be satisfied. It's not for us. We want to change. We want to improve. And the third point, peace. We were born to bring peace, not strength. We need strength to defend, but peace is our goal. Don't forget it.
And I know you have some very strong opinions. In the last few days, we saw on the Iranian front negotiations in Geneva to try and thwart Iran's nuclear program. What's your sense that the international community is proving capable of taking the right steps against Iran?
They are ready and willing and don't have a choice. No civilized nation can support the system that Iran suggests of terror, of hatred, of nuclear bombs. So let's not monopolize it. It's not that they're doing something for Israel. They and us are doing the same thing. And I fully agree with John Kerry, the Secretary of State, who says either a goodwill, either a good agreement or no agreement. This is the essence. I don't think that every one of us has to become an expert on enriched uranium. What we have to be an expert is about being right or wrong. Now, I do believe that even in Iran, there is a beginning of an argument, not the end of it. It is sanctions on the one hand and the young generation on the other hand. Don't take the Iranians as eternal phenomena, the system. As nobody took, and many people thought that the Arab world is frozen. It's a world that doesn't have freezers. It's a world that doesn't have reverses. It's a world that you have to act and participate and believe. And what I would say to us, the Jewish people, no matter which passport you have, the matter is your ethical passport. That comes first. And we have to keep it. It's difficult. It's not easy. But it is great and meaningful.
You think that there is change in Iran? You think that the regime may change? Or you think that the Iranian public will eventually be able to get a different leadership?
Let me say, I don't want to commit myself. I'm not a prophet. But what you said previously, the front of Iran is not the content of Iran. You know, all dictators were able to put on a great front where in fact they were weak and foolish. Take a man like Stalin. Everybody was worried about him. My God. And he didn't prepare himself to fight the Germans. He has had to send Molotov to Ribbentrop. What is it? What is it? It's wisdom, it's strength. We were more afraid than he was strong, you know. And I do not suggest to lose our heart because we are right and they are wrong. And because the future belongs to us. And don't give up. Never. Never. Now, let me say also, America, the United States, is our best friend. And the friendship with the United States to us is deep, is meaningful. It is our luck as well. And we are going to keep it. We can argue, it's normal, nothing wrong. But we are not at war. I read the papers today, my God.
Well, there are some differences of opinion about the handling of the Iranian issue.
You know, that's good, but the size of the letters of the difference is too high in my judgment. Yes, we can argue, nothing wrong. But basically, I believe that the United States is a great phenomena in history. In its 237 years of existence, it became great basically by giving and not by taking, by helping other people, not by trying to control them.
And you believe that ultimately the alliance of the United States, the international community, Israel, the countries that are democratic, that are devoted to freedom, these will prevail over extremists and extremist regimes like Iran?
I don't know to call names, I don't have to. I agree to the positive side you said. I don't think America is declining. I think the world is changing. I think America is changing as well. I do not believe that President Obama changed America. I do believe that they changed America, elected President Obama. And let's see things as they are. Look, it's, if I'm not wrong, it's very hard to be elected in the United States to be a president, you know. It's quite a task. And twice, my God.
He did it twice, absolutely.
He was elected.
Yeah.
I think when it comes to Israel, he was fair. He answers our most urgent need, which is security, full-heartedly. And about it, there is a consensus in Israel. And he committed himself not to permit the Iranians to become a nuclear power, by the way, not just for the sake of Israel,
right,
but for the sake of humanity, for the sake of the United States. About tactics, we can argue, nothing wrong.
Okay. Let me ask you about an issue that is so close to your heart, which is the Palestinian issue. We're negotiating, but there's no sense in public that a breakthrough is imminent. Is peace close at hand if only the two sides could make a further step?
You know, people have to understand that we are negotiating not because we agreed, but because we do not agree. And the purpose of negotiation is to convert disagreements to agreements and to convert enemies to friends. And by the way, it happened in many places all over the world. So when you start, it's difficult, it's complicated. You have really to change many prejudices, many images. By the way, we don't meet each other. We read about each other in the press, and the press is very supportive on both sides. I mean, the Arab press supports the Arab, that's what I mean, and our press supports us. It's normal, I don't criticize. And you know, our own, when you negotiate, I spend most of my life negotiating. It's difficult because you have to convince your own people. Your people tell you, look, we are all of us for peace. We are ready to pay the price. But you don't know how to negotiate. You give up too much. You trust too much. You're naive. Now, how can you measure all this? And then, in order to justify their criticism, some Arabs are throwing a bomb or killing a person, and it's extremely difficult. In spite of it, you have to negotiate, even if you are without a support and minority at the beginning. Because if you will consider the alternative, namely the lack of peace, then I am worried. We cannot be a Jewish state without having a Jewish majority. And for that reason, having a Jewish majority is our first consideration, because Judaism and democracy are alike, inseparable. We weren't born to govern anybody but ourselves, which is quite difficult. And that's it. And look, people asked me to speak yesterday about Ben Gurion.
It was the 40th anniversary of
No, just one point. You know, I can tell you, he was the most outstanding person I could think of. But one merit that people didn't appreciate, and in my judgment, it was the most important. The man was innocent. He really meant what he said. He really had a vision. He wouldn't give up. I worked with him 20 years, day after day. And of all his great merits, that is the one that conquered my heart. He said, the highest wisdom in life is to be a moral man. There is nothing wiser to be an honest person, historically and otherwise.
You've taken us back now to Ben Gurion's era. It's just the 40th anniversary of his death. You were there at the very start. You were in your 20s by his side when the state was founded. Now tell me, that must have been one of the happiest moments, but also one of the most worrying moments.
For me, yes. For him, I don't know. I admired him. He didn't know me. So it was a strange meeting. I was 24 years old, totally unknown. Many people wondered, why did he take a person like myself? It wasn't particularly something. And he really gave me, or put upon me, responsibilities that were above my capabilities and outside of my experience. So you have to ask him, why did he do it? But anyway, once we worked. And you know what? After, I was a member of a kibbutz, and he wanted to meet me. Because I was a Ben Gurionist, without meeting him. He didn't know about my existence, but it happened that people told him and so on. So he says, I would like to meet you. Okay. He told me he's going to visit Haifa from Tel Aviv. It took 2 hours. It was a winterly day. And he says, come with me. We shall have a chance to converse. I was excited. You must understand, for me, he was a legend. So I came in. I went in his car. As I said, it was a wintry day. He put on his coat. I didn't have one. He turned his back to me and he fell asleep. Oh my God. I said, well, I'm going to waste the opportunity. And he slept most of the time. When we came nearby Haifa, all of a sudden he wake up, looked at me, and says, you know, Trotsky was not a great leader. How did Trotsky come to the car, I don't know. But anyway, I wanted to develop the conversation. So he says, why? He says, what does it mean? No war, no peace? This is a Jewish invention. Either war and take the risk, or peace and pay the price. And he says Lenin was intellectually inferior to Trotsky, became the leader because he made the decision and wasn't afraid. That was the end of the conversation. and the beginning of my experience.
And way back then, at the time that the state was founded, in 1948, when Israel was hopelessly outmanned and outgunned and out-equipped, you never doubted that the country would survive?
Would I think logically? I should have think that we don't stand a chance. Look, I want to tell you one small story to make you feel what I felt at the time. I was 24 and I was taken to the headquarters of the Ghana. It was a year before the independence. And they came in, Ben-Gurion took out a piece of paper, gave me the list of the arms we have. We had nothing, very little. Several thousand of rifles, several hundreds of machine guns, that's it. No planes, no ships, no tanks. And when I came in to the headquarters, nobody knew where I'm going to sit, what I'm going to do. But the secretary of the headquarters was a friend of mine. He says, look, I can't find a place, but the chief of staff is sick. Why wouldn't you sit at his desk? I had chutzpah. I went and sat at his desk. I opened the desk and I saw 2 letters without an address. So I opened one. And I was shocked to my bones. The letter was by one of our generals that Ben-Gurion asked him to be the chief of staff. And the letter was addressed from this general to Ben-Gurion. And it says, thank you for trusting me. Thank you for offering me. But I'm a serious man. I checked our arsenals, and I have discovered that we have ammunition for only 7 days of war. I don't want to be a chief of staff for 7 days. Look, I came from a kibbutz. I was innocent and naive myself. I couldn't believe it. Imagine, the next day may be a war, and we couldn't defend ourselves. I'm going to tell me, look, without arms, we cannot do it. And we tried to penetrate and collect from all over the world, legally, illegally. But then, arms, we didn't get much. But the people, the soldiers, were unbelievable. They fought with whatever they had. We know that if we shall lose the war, we shall lose our history. And the war lasted for a year time. 54 days of war in those years, with 3 interruptions. By the way, we got volunteers, came from the United States. Some of them are among the founders of our Air Force, courageous young people. They weren't even invited, they came by themselves. And by the end, we lost many lives. We did it. We did it. For that, you need the courage of Ben-Gurion. George Marshall, who was, as you know, the most famous general in America and the Secretary of State under Truman, called up Mr. Moshe Sharett, who was a sort of our foreign officers, and he says, don't do it. If you'll declare a state, they will bring an end to you. You can't stand it. You don't have the men, you don't have the arms. And Sharett came back from America shocked. And Ben-Gurion says, okay, in spite of it, we shall make it. I read that we had an argument with the United States. It is not the whole story. Because while Marshall warned us, President Truman recognized us 11 minutes after the resolution of the United Nations. So, ladies and gentlemen, my conclusion is that logic has a limit, not courage.
I'm pretty sure we're going to be bundled off stage because we're running out of time, but I want to ask you a little slightly personal question as a last question. You've given us a history lesson of modern Israel. You've given us your take on current affairs. You've talked about the diaspora. It would be unthinkable that you were not meant to be a politician, but did you always intend to be a politician? And I ask you because among the other things you do, you write poetry. Even, I've been told, you were known to write poetry during cabinet meetings.
Look, at that age, I didn't know what politics it is. I did what many of my friends, my generation, did. We answered the call of the time. It wasn't a vocation. I preferred to go to a kibbutz, and I assure you, the kibbutz was as poor as one can. My possession were 2 shirts, 2 pair of pants, and a pair of shoes. So I had very little, but I was happy like nobody, believe me. The richest person wasn't as rich as I was, as my friend were. We believed, we served, and we knew that we don't have a chance but to overcome it, but to make it. Call it politician? I don't know. I mean, I dreamed in my heart either to be a poet about the stars and love, or to be an architect and build nice buildings. I didn't have a chance. I didn't have even a chance to study. I started to work in the kibbutz and tried to struggle with the shortages. When I think back, I think the shortages made us great. And one that have had or has oil became poor. We made in a land without oil a better economy than countries that have had oil. And I think Moses was right to select a land that doesn't make people lazy, but makes people believers and fighters and pioneers. And look at Israel today. Oil won, or vision won. So I'm a happy man.
I don't know, I think that's a lovely place to end. Thank you for being with us this morning. Thank you most of all, the inimitable President Shimon Peres. Thank you.
So I heard, is Massa in the house? How about birthright? Ladies and gentlemen, our future, give them a round of applause. Massa and birthright. So I do want to share a few big ideas today. A few things that I hope you will remember. 18 minutes, 18 days, 18 months, and yes, 18 years from now. That's a tall order, I know, but that's why we're here. Not to focus on small issues nor small problems, but the big ones, the biggest, because that's what we must do. Federation has always been about the biggest challenges, the biggest ideas, the biggest dreams. Federation was the driving force of 20th century Jewry. Together, we marched on behalf of the Jews in the Soviet Union and fought for their freedom. Together, we rescued the Jews of Ethiopia and brought them out of exile. And together, we fought bigotry in our own country, whether it was called anti-Semitism, racism, prejudice, and now anti-Zionism. And we were there among the midwives at the birth of the nation we stand in today, and we stood by her for 65 years. We stood with Israelis during times of terror and war. We huddled together with mothers and children in bomb shelters, some of which we helped build, and we came here when bus bombings emptied hotels and restaurants. Our work here is not over, but it is changing. I fear there will always be threats to Israel's physical security, and we will stand beside her. But today, Israel is also tackling domestic challenges. We have a role to play in helping her grapple with many of them. It's not enough that we helped bring 3 million Jews from across the globe to Israel. We need to help with more than absorption. When a kid from one of our youth villages becomes the CEO of an Israeli high-tech company, when one of our sister cities like Kiryat Gat or Kiryat Shmona becomes a modern industrial center, when these things happen, our work still won't be done. But we'll be getting closer. If the purpose of our work of the last century was to help build and sustain a nation, federation is now being called upon to build and sustain the Jewish people itself, to effect a renaissance of Jewish life. The recent Pew report is the talk of the town, and I don't need to go into the details about the data for you. The bottom line is known to all of us. In North America, the Jewish community is less connected, less involved, and less compelling. Outside of the Orthodox world, which is vibrant and growing, the Jewish world faces more than an existential crisis. We have to ask ourselves whether the Jews today, especially the young Jews, find meaning, purpose, and joy in their Jewish identity. Not just pride, but purpose. So that's the challenge of our time. I have a few ideas, and I'm not sure if they're the right ones or the only ones, but we have to start somewhere. And I will tell you this, we will start here, we will start in Jerusalem, and we'll start at this GA. So what's stopping Jews from connecting with the Jewish community? It's certainly not for lack of options. You can go to a synagogue or choose a chavarah. You can work out at your JCC or go to a Jewish yoga retreat. You can engage in Jewish learning or take a class in Jewish cooking. Jewish life does not lack for entry points. The problem, as I see it, is the entry price. Think about it. Right now, Judaism is a membership organization with a massive entry cost, and the annual dues just keep going up. And here's the crazy thing. The more you participate, the more it costs. So let's say that you have 3 kids in day school and summer camp. 2 of the 3 elements we know are the best predictors of lasting connection to Jewish life. What's it going to set you back? Anywhere from $50,000 to more than $100,000 a year in most places? After tax? For just one family? Even our Rosh Hashanah brisket is 3 times the cost of a non-kosher cut. We need to make Jewish life affordable. So here's where we start, where families start, where they make their first decision about the role Judaism plays in their lives. When they have their children and it's time for preschool, we know that this is a formative time in a family's life and a child's life. Preschool is not just for kids. It's a family affair. Parents bond with other parents. Friendships are formed. Holidays are celebrated. They dance at each other's B'nai Mitzvah celebrations and at their children's weddings. Preschool is the seedbed of our community. So here's the idea. Let's plant more seeds. We need a Jewish Head Start, Jewish preschool for every Jewish child, free of charge. Because if the child leads the way towards Jewish life, the parents will follow. The child looks forward to if the child looks forward to lighting candles and eating challah on Shabbat, the parents will too. If the child brings home the stories and lessons of patriarchs and matriarchs, the parents will pursue the same knowledge. We need to open ourselves to generation upon generation of more active, more connected, and yes, more Jewish Jews. So we know this, so let's act on that. Where do we begin? Not where you think. Ironically, Jewish life is actually weakest, where Jewish density is strongest. If you take the numbers alone, one of the least connected communities in North America, Brooklyn, New York, the birthplace of Barbra Streisand and Sandy Koufax. There are a lot of places like Brooklyn that would benefit from an intensive, multi-layered approach to Jewish engagement. We need the equivalent of special zones, Jewish development zones. So let's start with 5. And if we can't do 5, let's do 3. In each of these zones, let's launch a Jewish Head Start. Build at least one dedicated summer camp. Elevate day schools and religious schools. Double Jewish youth and group activity. And strengthen Hillel's birthright, young leadership, and connect young adults to each other and to the community. I know that this is a big goal, and I know it will be expensive. And let's face it, if we're going to do this, we will need big money. As Theodore Herzl said, if you will it, it is no dream. But it wasn't just the will of the Zionist movement that built this great nation. It was people like Montefiore and Rothschild, people who bought land, people who built farms and factories and home, a few pushka boxes, a few $18 Israel bonds at a time. We should not underestimate the power of fundraising in the service of a great dream. So, yes, we need resources, fresh resources, above and beyond the core of what we already do, and it will be one of my top priorities to raise $1 billion in the next 10 years. I'll worry about the how, and I'll be in touch with some of you about helping me worry less. And so what I want from each of you is this. Think big. Dream big. If Jewish Head Start and Jewish development zones isn't where you think we need to go, fine. Outdream me. Outthink me. Outdo me. You wouldn't be the first person to do that. Trust me on that. But you had better bring a big idea to the table. Because one big idea, one spectacular idea, can completely reshape the world, can completely change who we are as a people. Look around us. Look where we're standing. It's all because of one big idea, one big dream. Together, we change the world, and together, we can do it again. Thank you.
Wow. There's a lot of people here. We're in Israel. We're in Jerusalem. My God, we're here. It's unbelievable. You know, this morning, Michael outlined our dream for the future. A handful of new large-scale programs to bring more Jews into the community. I thought and I think it's a remarkable vision, and I want us all to get behind it. I also want to talk about how we can engage more Jews. But I'm going to take a different tack. I want to talk about the market that's truly at our fingertips, the low-hanging branches laden with fruit, a market with hundreds of thousands of Jews who already experience our most important programs, programs where we already invest millions of dollars, but where we don't have the mechanisms, the tools to leverage the results. We look at the Pew study and see a Jewish community slipping away. Truth is, we're the ones letting them slip away. We're the ones who are failing here. Let me give you a handful of examples. Taglit Birthright. It's a fantastic success. And every federation that funds this program should be proud. But for years, we've made this trip a no-strings-attached venture. We ask literally nothing from those who attend. And we have more than 350,000 young adults who've returned from a transformative experience to Israel, and thousands more who participated in the Jewish Agency's Masa Israel programs. And they're here today. And we welcome you, hundreds of them, with us at the GA. That means that half of our young population has been exposed to Israel. And yet, we don't follow up. We don't connect with half of our target market. What business in the world would build a list of hundreds of thousands of customers and have no systemic mechanism for follow-up or engagement? We act as if they don't want to hear from us. But that's not really true. This is the push notification generation. Think about it. They expect Amazon to suggest things that they should buy. They expect Pandora to tell them what music to listen to. I see it every day. Erica and I are blessed with 5 children. They want their friends to know where they are, what they're doing, and frankly, even what they're eating. So let's connect to them. So here's a few simple ideas. Let's use the list of our 350,000 Birthright alumni. Let's create a one-continent strategy for staying close to them. Let's have a continental Google map of every young adult opportunity in North America. And let's connect them to the kinds of things that they care about. You know, 80% of birthwriters volunteer. They do service projects in inner cities. They tutor young and old to read, and they join efforts to clean up the environment. They travel the globe to work in orphanages in developing countries. But you know what? Only a fraction does this work through an organization with Jewish in its name or purpose. Why can't we have thousands more join JDC's Jewish Service Corps or the Jewish Agency's Onward program? Why not federation programs to ease hunger among the elderly or to tutor the illiterate? I think we have what they want. And I will tell you, you are what we want. Let's fix this. Finally, let's leverage our strongest asset, you. Close your eyes and just imagine. What would our community look like 10 years from now, even 5 years from now, if every Birthright graduate had a community mentor? Look at the University of Southern California. It has about the same number of living graduates as we have Birthright alumni. What makes USC unique? It's not its football team. But USC has one of the strongest alumni networks in all of America, helping recent grads get work, find connections, and move forward in life. We can do this. Think what a young leader could get out of being mentored. Think about how much our young people would gain from developing a meaningful relationship with a Michael and Susie Gelman, or a Ronnie Dweck, or to many exemplary leaders in this room. We could change the face of Jewish communal life one relationship at a time. You know, another low-hanging branch, Jewish camp. Full disclosure, I have a bias for Jewish camp. I have to tell you, as most of you know, I ran the foundation for Jewish camp before coming to JFNA. But don't take my biased words for it. The statistics, they back me up. Jewish camp is a top 3 experience to ensure Jewish continuity and identity. And more than that, it's a great way to promote the pure joy of Jewish life. Indeed, the proof is in the pudding. Camp Ramah even has a website dedicated to posting Ramah marriages. You know, a quick show of hands. How many of you went to a Jewish camp? And how many of you are sending your children or grandchildren to Jewish camp? You know, that's most of us in this room. But only 10% of Jewish children attend a summer camp. Why? It's not just about scholarships and affordability, which is always an issue. It's about space. Jewish camps are oversubscribed. The best ones are turning away Jewish families. It's like Apple not making enough of the new iPhones. We have what people want. We just don't make enough of it. We need more capacity. We need more camps. We need to triple the number of campers over the next 5 years. You know, there are hundreds and hundreds of other great programs, ones that you're running in your JCCs, in our day schools, in our most dynamic synagogue communities. Hillel, PJ Library, Moish houses, and I could go on. And we need to share information on these programs, how they work, why they work, and when they don't work, and why not. I don't want this information in a file somewhere in an office in Cleveland or in Toronto. I want it available to us real time, like a Wikipedia of Jewish communal knowledge. And this is our job. We at JFNA, we need to do a better job of creating a clearinghouse for the latest knowledge and programmatic expertise. We need to make this easy and interactive. We need a Wikipedia of Jewish communal knowledge. And you know what? We're going to build it and make sure it works, and make sure it works right. And we have no margin for delay because this will be a top priority this year. You know, we spent a lot of great time together at this GA talking about the challenges we face as a North American Jewish community. But the biggest challenge is something that I believe we take for granted until it's too late. And that's the idea that we are best when we stand together. As a single community, one nation, Am Echad. That's why this GA culminates on Tuesday, when we will walk together to the religious and historic center of our people, to the Kotel, to a place where we all belong. It is a place for prayer. It's a place for peace. And so that's why it's so important that we will go together in peace and make clear by our own example that the Kotel belongs to the entire Jewish community, all of us. You know, coming together as a community is not just something that's a nice to do. We have to do it. Think of what it means to be Jewish. Where does it happen? doesn't happen alone. It happens together. Happens at a daily minyan, around the Pesach table, in Chevruta. You know, we can't pray, celebrate, mourn, learn without each other. These are the moments of a Jewish life when we are together. And it's time to act that way again. We must do more to shape our community as a collective effort, where we share information, where we break down barriers and silos, and where we serve as mentors. The fact that we act collectively, that is our brand. That's who we are, and that's what sets us apart. Not just the things we do, but the fact that we do them together, all of us. Let's never forget that. Let's never be so passionate about a single cause that we forget that our real cause is community. Thank you so much for being at the GA.
We would be pleased to send a complimentary DVD of this program to anyone who wishes to support Shalom TV with a tax-deductible gift of $36, double chai or more, to the nonprofit organization Jewish Education in Media. Simply visit the Shalom TV website homepage and click on the Donate button to make a donation by PayPal or your credit card. And please indicate the program for which you would like a DVD. Or you can send your tax-deductible check made out to GEM, Post Office Box 180, Riverdale Station, Bronx, New York, 10471. And again, please remember to indicate which program you would like to receive on DVD with our compliments. And we thank you for your kind support.